Hello, Christine. So I'm glad to at least doing my level 4 certification. So I've chosen a case of a woman who is dead since 1985, I think. So it's very old case. But I was so interested by her case that I did a video on my Instagram account about her human design, and for me it's a very passionating case. It's about antique Egypt, so it's about also a very nice subject for me. So maybe it would be a bit longer than 15 minutes because I just would like to present you this woman before starting his human design. So sorry for the English because it's a translation from Google Translate. So sometimes I tried to correct some sentences, but sometimes I don't. I really hope you will understand. If you don't, or if you have questions, just don't hesitate. So my study case is about Dorothy Eddy. So she's a woman who was born the 6th of January 1904. So almost 100 years ago, 120 years ago in London. So I don't have a birth time, but her human design didn't change during the day. This woman had a near-death experience at the age of 3, and her life was never the same than before, as she started to remember a very ancient knowledge from antique Egypt. Dorothy Eddy is known for her belief that in a previous life she had been a priestess in ancient Egypt, as well as her considerable historical research in Abydos in Egypt. She told that when she was a priestess, she also fell in love with Pharaoh Seti first. Their love story couldn't go on because she needed to stay a virgin, promised to Isis temple, so that she has been judged and sentenced to death. So this story is that she told in her previous life, more or less 4,000 years ago. Also, in this present life, she said that she was still in contact with Pharaoh Seti first, as he is still in love and waiting for her. She was known to take on meat her loving Pharaoh in this reality. Her life and work has been the subject of many articles, television documentaries, and books. She was literally obsessed by Abydos temple in Egypt, the temple of Pharaoh Seti I. At least when she could go there in her 50s, she was able to tell where the old gardens were, as she remembered from a previous life the gardens of Abydos temple. Nobody wanted to believe her, but anyway, she knew anything about this temple, chambers, gardens, passages, and she worked there as a guide until her death. So I really fell in love with this story, and for me, it's a very nice to make her design. So now I will share her design. Okay. So she is an alchemist, profile 5-1 with emotional authority and cross of obscuration. So she needs to listen to her sacral response plus her emotional clarity. In fact, when she was young, during the First World War, they were bombing raid over London. Her parents told her to go to a dance class, but some minutes before, she decided not to go. She was a very stubborn girl. And she went to the British Museum because she loved spending a lot of hours in the British Museum in the Egypt department, for sure. A few times after, a bomb blew up her dance class building, killing all the other girls. But she was safe as she listened to her sacral. Her parents couldn't believe it. Her 5-1 profile leads her to be an heroine. She was one without meaning to. Her goal from a very young age was to deepen her knowledge in Egyptian history and share it with the world. She deeply loves to learn, create, take up challenges, and is not afraid to go against the current. She's a woman born in 1904, and she showed very early that she would not be the type of wise girl people wanted her to be. Very early on, she wanted to decipher the hieroglyphics text by herself. As she spent all her time at the British Museum, a professor started to teach her. She believes in reincarnation and appears as an impious, a real heretic. She was rejected from the schools she attended for her ideas. So very early, she didn't go at school anymore, and she made school with her mom. She had a gift for attracting people to her, but others put a lot of pressure on her. Despite her very original ideas for this time, she does not push back. She intrigues, and many people trust her. Her challenge is learn to say no to the things she doesn't want to go through. Ask, investigate, and become an authority in areas of passion and shine. This woman has always done what she wanted, except when it bothered the gods Isis and Osiris. With the gate 61 in conscious sun, she perpetually wonders about the great universal truth, but she does not try to answer at all of them. By looking at her life, she seemed to have a lot of inner knowledge. This door can make a person look naive, and many people have noticed that. Her many aspects of the logic circuit enabled her to work hard on the translation of many hieroglyphic documents. She also learned very young without going to the university. With a heart ego center defined, she had an iron will, is that we say in French, iron will, that allowed her to go over things and to believe in her dreams from a very young age, to go to Egypt. What she did around 30 when she found an Egyptian husband and live in Abydos, which she did around 50. Life did not allow her to go to Abydos right away, and she was repeatedly prevented by coincidences. She had to wait for the divine timing that let her settle near the temple. Om Seti, as a name, carried within her an energy that always allowed her to see bigger, get 52 of perspective and 51 of mysteries. And in a very creative way, get 30 of patience, 41 of imagination, and 22 of grace. She had innovative ideas for the time, but never looks for convince. She drew a lot of attention from researchers, writers, journalists. Okay, let's talk about right angle cross of obscuration. So her cross describes her life path in an admirable way, and it is so much easier to understand when the person is old or deceased, since we have the whole life course. Her life theme is to live in a way that is not easily seen by others. And talking about reincarnation in 1910 was so crazy, especially for women. She organizes her life and activities by recognizing both the rigid character and the changing values that society adopts at that time. So here we see the impact of Gate 50 about the values, changing values. With an understanding of these underlying values, she finds new approaches to bring about change and transformation while concealing her methods and intentions. It is important that she resisted to the temptation to convince that a particular piece of life is the only thing that has meaning. Rather, she should use her influence to empower others as individuals without them becoming dependent on her. She has a knack for thinking outside the box and in ways that others can't manage themselves without that direct involvement. She was often visited and questioned in Abydos temple. She also has an ingenuity that easily gets through difficulties that others can't. These abilities may tempt others into insisting that she confide her secrets to them, but it has consequences. Many wanted to understand where all her knowledge came from. Certainly, she can bring help, relief and clear instructions to many people. But it is essential that she accomplishes this in her own way without compromising her integrity. Truth is universal, but delivering it requires a special touch. With her conscious son in 61, she can be extremely inspiring. She easily attracts people to her. They might assume that she's always available to improve their lives. But being permanently available can be exhausting and distract her from her true interests and inspirations. Making it difficult so people don't follow her too much may not seem politically correct, but it must become a way of life for her. She feels better by following a strategy on her authority with which clearly guides her towards the people and the revelations which lead her towards a certain accomplishment. Many people wanted to tell her their reincarnation story, but Homesteady or Dorothy Eddy knew when the information was very important, true, and powerful. Likewise, this person aroused a lot of interest around her, but she was highly respected and at no time taken for a mad woman. Despite all her extravagant attitudes, she generated something very deep and without age. Her markers, the markers in the charts. So I will speak about 4426. She had a gift to tell stories. And we can notice she had gate 11 too. We could believe in her stories or not. This is not the deal. Her stories were so deep and of sense. We can add gate 11 in her Uranus. She brought very original ideas that has changed the mentalities. With the gate 46 on a open earth, she needed to be careful on her body. She had so many health problems because she didn't pay attention to where she was going, falling from the ladder in Abydos temple. She had heart attacks, diabetes. I think this gate was a good marker of a safe involvement or not in her research. Sometimes I think she really did too much. Gate 61, gate 25, on gate 19. She had a very strong connection with universal knowledge, with spirit. With the gate 19, she was connected to nature, animals, and she did have so many animals nearby her when she was living in Abydos. She was feeding all animals near. Gooses, cats, dogs, even snake and scorpio. She said she was strongly connected to Isis and Osiris magic. And also, I think she said she prefer being connected to animals than human. With the gate 50 in unconscious sun and gate 3 in unconscious earth, we really see that she wanted to bring a mind opening at the stage in the early 19th century, but without doing it in purpose. When she arrived in Egypt at 30, she got married to an Egyptian man who wanted to live in the modern district of the Caire, but she didn't want. She wanted to live near the pyramids. She was modern as a woman and so in love with old traditions at the same stage. So, with gate 50 of values. With a gate 11 on 41, she could be a writer. She didn't, but I think that would have been a big potential. Anyway, she wrote so many papers for the researchers. But as she was a woman, and a very special woman with no university's background, all her work was a bit like underlying. It was an unofficial work, but in this in the archaeology area, the people were near by her at this stage told that she was a very strong archaeologist, very clever. With a gate 45 in unconscious and conscious Pluto, she brought a lot of change on the way of sharing knowledge. Actually, she shared a lot just being a guide in the temple. She was known as a very particular woman who just know the things. She would have loved to be a tourist. I would have loved to be a tourist in the 70s and listen to Omseti's stories. She could tell everything about Abydos temple life because she did spend a life there 4,000 years ago, if we believe that she's telling. So I just put for you a video from YouTube about an interview of her in this temple when she was very old. For me, the biggest conundrum is about having an open J with this defined center. She could put a lot of energy in other directions, especially men's direction, as she was a woman alone believing in reincarnation. So these people at this stage were considered as crazy. And I will add, it's not written on my paper, but I will add the will definition, because will definitions and open earth can be a bit contradiction story here. The will want to go, and the open earth, it's where. So therefore, her emotional authority with gate 30 and 22 made her so special. But regarding her life, I think she did quite well with her sacral. Yes, because if you read something about her, she listened a lot, intuition on her inner sensation. At least she gets two splits, ajna and throat, ego and spleen, plexus root sacral on the other way. That means that she could feel three different kind of energies inside her. Mental energy on the side, ego and will connected to the spleen. Yes, here she put a lot of energy in things she just feel in the moment. But without the emotional clarity and sacral authority, she might be wrong. For instance, when she tried to go in Abydos 2 times earlier. She tried because she really wanted to go in Abydos and met again Pharaoh, but it was not the time. In fact, she needed to spend time with different people to feel completed. I think she did, even if she spent a lot of time alone, because she liked to be just with herself, her animas and city spirits. Okay. So I hope it was interesting for you, and I hope it was a good case for my certification. Well, for me, it was so interesting to speak about her because, as I say, first, when you get all the life of the person, afterward, it's so nice to see how the incarnation cross did apply to her. And for me, it was very interesting. So, Christine, I'll let you with this, and see you soon, I hope. Anyway, let me know. Bye bye.